It's the same way footsteps in the night, claw marks on wood, or a fleeting shadow standing upright in the trees. Across the United States, from the misty Appalachians to the plains of Kansas, people have reported encounters with something that defies classification. It's not a bear, it's not a man, and it's not afraid of being seen. In fact, it seems to choose its witnesses. These are not hallucinations, these are patterns. Farmers, hikers, hunters, children, retired soldiers, and even law enforcement have all described the same thing. A massive, fur-covered creature that walks on two legs, has a canine face, glowing eyes, and an unsettling intelligence. Its movements are quiet, calculated, and deliberate. The fear it leaves behind is not from what it does, but from what it doesn't. It doesn't attack without purpose. It doesn't flee, it just watches. Evidence doesn't last. Photos become corrupted. Video files vanish. Footprints disappear overnight. Even those who speak out are often silenced by doubt, ridicule, or sudden disappearances. Government agencies issue vague statements. Wildlife departments label it as bear misidentification. But how many bear sightings come with facial recognition, whispered names, and long, clawed hands dragging across glass? For decades, the legend of the Dogman was contained to whispers in local bars, old campfire stories, and obscure forums. But now the sightings are spreading rapidly. They're no longer confined to deep wilderness. They're happening near homes, farms, highways, and schools. They come at night, sometimes at dawn, always when you're alone, and always with purpose. Each report echoes the last. A tall shadow in the fog, a low growl without a source, a door left open that was locked before. Victims describe the same eyes burning amber or bright yellow, reflecting not just light, but thought. Some survivors feel it marked them, others never speak of it again, and a few disappear completely, leaving behind only damaged campsites and clawed tree trunks. This is not just folklore. This is something larger. A phenomenon that moves without regard for our understanding. It follows its own rules. It does not fear cameras, and it does not fear confrontation. It leaves messages in the dirt, warnings in the bark, and silence, where life used to be, and with every appearance, it feels closer, as if the borders between its world and ours are eroding. What you're about to read are 12 detailed reports, Charge 1, verified, mapped, and connected. These stories come from real people, in real towns, across real landscapes. Some were brave enough to speak, others left only fragments, but together they draw a terrifying truth. Something is here. It walks among us, and it's only just beginning. The sun had barely set behind the hills when the woods behind my uncle's property began to shift. I was splitting logs near the shed when the cicadas fell silent all at once. The stillness felt artificial, like something had pressed pause on the world. That was when I first felt an overwhelming sensation of being watched, not by a person, but something intelligent, old, and wrong. I turned toward the tree line, expecting a deer or maybe a wild dog, but there was nothing, just the wind. Or so I thought. Uncle Henry used to talk about strange things in the woods, especially after a drink or two. I always thought it was nonsense. Stay out of the pines after dark, he'd say. Something out there walks like a man but ain't. No man. That night, those words returned with force. The sun was gone. The wind had died, and in the heavy silence, I heard branches cracking in steady rhythm-like footsteps. Deliberate, heavy, upright. Then came the sound I'll never forget. A howl, but not a normal one. It started low, like a growl, then rose into a twisted, unearthly scream. It echoed off the trees and rattled something deep in my chest. Every instinct screamed for me to run, but my body refused. I stood frozen, axe in hand, eyes wide, heart thudding so loud I thought it might give me away. Something massive was moving beyond the brush. Between the trunks I glimpsed a shape. It moved with purpose all broad and disturbingly fast. I saw fur, dark and matted. Its limbs were long, arms nearly reaching its knees. Then I caught a flash of its eyes, glowing amber bright. They locked onto mine. That stare didn't feel animal. It felt aware. It felt calculating. I took a step back, and it responded by stepping forward, slow and silent, as if testing me suddenly. A shotgun blast shattered the moment. Uncle Henry stood on the porch, weapon raised, eyes locked on the woods. The figure stopped mid-step. It didn't run, it didn't flinch. It simply stared at him for a few seconds, then turned and vanished into the shadows like smoke. Uncle Henry said nothing. He pulled me inside, locked the doors, and bolted the windows like he'd done it 100 times before. Inside, the air was thick with fear. Uncle Henry poured himself a drink with shaking hands and didn't speak for 10 minutes. Finally, he looked at me and said, "You saw it, didn't you?" I nodded. He nodded back. "That thing's been here longer than I have. Longer than any of us. And it never forgets who's seen it." He retrieved an old metal box from under the floorboards. Inside were clippings, photos, and tapes. I pulled out a yellowed newspaper titled "Beast Walks on Two Legs, Locals Terrified." The date was 1982. The sketch in the article matched what I saw: canine snout, claws, towering build. Uncle Henry explained he'd been documenting the thing for decades. Animal attacks, missing pets, even people who vanished without a trace. Some came back, but not as they were. Most were never seen again. "The woods take what they want," he said. He showed me a VHS tape labeled July 1996. The footage was grainy and green-tinted night vision. A man's voice whispered nervously as he panned through trees. Then, two bright eyes appeared in the distance. The camera jerked. A flash of fur, a scream. Silence. The tape ended in static. "That was a ranger," Henry said. "They said he fell, but I found his boot shredded, still had blood in it." That night, neither of us slept. Uncle Henry sat in a chair by the door with the shotgun across his lap. Around 2:40 a.m., we heard soft scratching on the back wall. It was slow, measured, not a raccoon, not a possum. Something was letting us know it was there. We didn't move, we didn't breathe. Minutes passed like hours until the sound faded. Morning light never felt so foreign. At dawn, I stepped outside. 3 claw marks were etched into the cabin's rear wall. Deep, precise, spaced like fingers. The prints in the mud were enormous, barefoot, bipedal, with long toe claws. I followed them 20 feet into the woods before they simply ended. No branches broken, no disturbed leaves, as if the thing had disappeared mid-stride. I felt eyes on me the whole time. When I returned to the city, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I tried to dismiss it, but it lingered. I mentioned it to a coworker. She laughed nervously, then said her uncle in Arkansas saw something similar, near dense forest. I started researching and found forums full of reports. Michigan, Kentucky, Missouri, even northern Texas. Same descriptions, same behavior, all dismissed, all silenced. Some reports were taken down within hours. I saved screenshots, watched videos, before they vanished. Many users were banned. One forum mod said they were being threatened. It's not just a creature, one post read. It's a pattern, a presence, and someone doesn't want us asking questions. That's when I started feeling paranoid, like someone was always one step behind me. Uncle Henry stopped answering my calls. When I drove back, his cabin was abandoned. The furniture was gone. The floorboards where he kept the box had been torn up. No signs of a struggle, just an eerie absence. I asked around. A neighbor said men in black trucks were there a few nights. Earlier, no badges, no questions asked. They came, they left, and so did Henry. I kept digging. The more I found, the more it terrified me. Military bases near national parks, closed trails with no public explanation, reports of helicopters flying low over forested areas at night, sound recordings of howls that don't match any known species, files marked classified by agencies that deny they even exist. Why would they hide this? Unless they were afraid to. Since then, I've seen it twice. Once outside my apartment building at night, watching from the tree line across the street. Once in the reflection of my rearview mirror on an empty highway. It doesn't chase me. It watches, waits, as if deciding what to do or who I'll tell. I don't know if I've been marked, but I know I'm not imagining it. And I know I'm not the only one. This thing is not a myth. It's real. It walks among us. It stalks those who see it and silences those who know too much. And it's not alone. Across the country, more people are coming forward with stories that match mine. The question now isn't what is it. The question is why is it here now? And what happens next?